right, everybody. Welcome to Lucky Top. We have Frank, Josh with us. You know him, and now we have a resident Cox fan here, Chase. So, Chase, why don't you start us off? What are your thoughts, man?
I think Tenneseee experienced exactly what everyone else is experiencing, but nobody's watching.
Okay.
South Carolina is a grimy basketball team. They're not good in any category. They are just tough all the way around. We're not going to kill you with 2 points. It doesn't matter where we're going to shoot from. It's just grimy defense for the entire time. I tried to tell Josh this a week ago.
Hold
I told him,
on.
I said, you're going to run into – no, you're going to shoot a stat. I'm trying to tell you.
No. Hold on.
You can't talk about stats
agree with
it.
you. I'm going to agree with you a little bit. All right. I'm not going to attack you with stats. The only fucking stat that matters tonight is 63 to 59. Right.
That's it.
That's the only stat that matters.
And that's what I keep trying to say with stats, with this game, with this team. And I'm just special because I'm a Gamecocks fan. Normally, our men's basketball team is trash.
I know. The last two times we played you guys, we beat you by 40 points. So
this is the first road win against a top 5 team we've had since
1977.
Yeah, we're not good. But here's the problem: we play. Lamont Paris is an excellent coach. He has not been here long enough to establish what Tenneseee has established. Because if you look at all 5 starters and the bench, you should beat us 99 out of 100 times. The problem is he is coaching a defensive team, and he understands that, but he is just putting so much defense on you where they hug you the entire time. They're so conditioned to hug you the entire time, and it causes frustration. And you can see it with Tenneseee multiple times, petty fouls. The coach is frustrated. The team is frustrated. ESPN is saying the huddle's frustrated. Welcome to South Carolina basketball this year, because that's how they're grinding these teams out. It's not that we're going to go and throw 90 points up. We haven't done that yet. We're winning games 59 to 54, 57 52, 61 52. Tenneseee is a better basketball team than South Carolina. Tenneseee succumbed to South Carolina's defense and them hanging on them all night, and South Carolina can shoot the 3. That's it. You saw us shoot at the beginning of the game. We shot low percentage shots. We were sloppy. Tenneseee was sloppy. They come out hype. We come out hype. But they have not run into a team that plays the defense that South Carolina plays, and you're not going to see it on the stat sheet. You're just going to have to watch the game and just see how frustrated teams get. Kentucky did the same thing. We frustrated Kentucky to no end because they couldn't get separation everywhere they went.
Yeah, I just add on to that, during the broadcast, they were saying that South Carolina has held teams to 6 or less threes every game. Mm-hmm. And that just seemed to be how the fuck they did it this time, right?
And it says we're leading the country in teams scoring less than 30 points and a half this year, which is crazy because it's only happened twice this year. But thankfully, Tenneseee was one of the teams that we did it to. But that's crazy. Throughout the NCAA, that's only happened twice all year. We lead it. So that's wild.
Yeah.
I will mention to you guys 5 hours ago, I'm pretty sure I told you guys to take South Carolina today, plus 800.
Yeah,
I like you, Frank.
At least 5 to 10 messages about it.
We got kind of the same facial hair. You're wearing a hat I would wear. I mean, me and you.
Frank. What was I texting you? Yeah. Let's be honest. What did I?
You said you're right. You're right. Take it. So I
said
appreciate
take it.
the free advice and money today.
I warned Josh of this a week ago.
Well, I didn't want to believe it.
First half, man.
I didn't want to believe it until the Vanderbilt game. The Vanderbilt game is what revealed to me what was going to happen today. And for those of our listeners that's either streamed it on Spotify or listened to it on our socials, and I was on the Vandy reaction with my brother-in-law Saturday night, and I told him, I said flat out, I think the South Carolina's a trap game. I think we're looking forward to Kentucky. You could tell we were very fatigued. Dalton Knecht's back is broken. He's carried Tenneseee. He's carried Tenneseee for the last 7 games. I mean, you just look at all the Tennessee scorers tonight. And Chase, let me spit this out for the Tennessee faithful.
Break it down, brother. Break it down. You're having your time over there.
Josiah Jordan James, 2 points. Santiago Vescovi, 10 points. Zakai Ziegler, 2 points. Tobe Awaka, 6 points. JP Estrella, 2 points. Jonas Adu, 6 points. Dalton Knecht, 31 points. The team scored 59. Dalton scored 31.
Right. Over half the points.
Like 15 in the last 3 minutes of the game?
Yeah.
Didn't he score 15 points the last 3 minutes of the game?
Yes.
So, like,
literally, the difference in the game was the first half.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It really was, because it was 33-33 in the second. They were completely even in the second half. Tennessee shoots an abysmal 60% from free throws, 12 of 20. South Carolina was damn near perfect, 15 of 18. Obviously, our 3-point percentage was awful, 5 of 21. When you're shooting 23% and then 36% from the field, that's a recipe to lose every single time. It doesn't matter if you're playing South Carolina. It doesn't matter if you're playing Vanderbilt. It doesn't matter if you're playing Tennessee School for the Deaf and the Blind. You're going to lose.
Just want to mention real quick, the biggest stat to me, in the paint, Tennessee shot under 50%. You can't fucking win versus
how many bunnies?
You can't beat girls basketball team with that shit, dude. So that's
You're definitely not beating our girls basketball team with that. I'm not.
Okay. All right. Victory lap. Yeah.
Dude, give us one more Gamecock.
Don Staley. Yeah. Don Staley. Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, fellas, the proof is in the pudding. I'm trying to tell you. I told Josh this a week ago. Listen, I don't know the future. Nobody has called me the Lord, but I'm trying to tell you, I warn him of things ahead of time. Whenever I know South Carolina is going to get spanked, I tell him. I'm a true fan of whatever sport it is, garnet glasses aside, whatever that orange color is aside. I'm trying to tell you, whenever I know it. And whenever I see a team that is just grimy, that's just South Carolina is just a grimy team this year. We led in rebounds in the first half. That's
it's funny you bring up. Yeah, it's funny you bring up rebounds though. You won the rebound battle 43-42.
Exactly.
40, like one separated, and we look at the assists, 15-11 South Carolina with the edge, 2 blocks Tennessee with the edge, 0 for South Carolina, 5 steals. You guys had 10 turnovers. Tennessee only had 6.
Yep.
Personal fouls, 18 for South Carolina and 16 for Tennessee. All right,
but I was saying, when you talk about rebounds and them being so close, this is a unranked South Carolina team. The 17-3, fully disrespected. I think truly it's because of preseason rankings. Last year, I mean, we've won more games in the SEC already than we have the entire year last year. This is only Lamont Harris' second year.
I'll tell you,
South Carolina.
That's
a frustrated Tennessee team that played South Carolina tonight. After 5 minutes of playing South Carolina, Tennessee was frustrated the rest of the game.
Yeah, it was terrible body language throughout that whole sequence of the game, like from start to finish. But to your point earlier about saying you're not the Lord, but you try to tell the future. Somebody that is close to the Lord when I look at stats and when I go to give betting advice is Ken Pom. And, I've talked to you about, how Ken Pom has South Carolina's adjusted efficiencies, whether it's offensive or defensive, on his website. Ken Pom is the GOAT, period. Right? I live and die by Ken Pom statistics. And he's really going to have to rerun his algorithm because South Carolina smashed it tonight.
Yeah. I think Vol brother-in-law, your brother-in-law, he brought up that, Tennessee shouldn't lose another game throughout the season. And once he said that in the reaction, I knew it was fucking coming, man. I knew it was coming. Oh, man, they're not going to lose. Well, shit, man. They lost the first game since after that, man. I thought that, one team looked like they wanted it more. I will say defense, for the most part, it's technique and effort, right? So the effort was there for South Carolina, and that's why we see this final result. So I will give it to South Carolina.
Yeah, well, and I'm not a ref guy. I've never been a ref guy. I don't blame the refs, but there was
Don't start tonight.
No, I'm not. I'm not. But I'll tell you, I hate Pat Adams, and I've always hated Pat Adams' crews.
Nobody likes him.
Pat Adams is probably the worst official in the SEC, and for some reason, he continues to coach or continues to get the opportunity to referee SEC games.
He is the Angel Hernandez of SEC basketball.
Yeah, I mean, did you guys watch the first 4 minutes of the second half?
It was horrible.
They inbound the ball, immediate foul. Like, I don't even know if he touched him.
No, and that's the crazy part. Pat Adams, like they're so inconsistent. His crews are always terrible. But yeah, hats off to South Carolina, man. They came in, they did the JOB, like I like to say, to the Vols tonight, and it is a very, very difficult job to win in Thompson Bowling Arena. 5 teams have done it over the last 7 seasons. 5 teams have won in TBA. All right. So hats off to the Gamecocks. We play you guys, I think, the second to last game of the season. I will be attending that with my boys. So hopefully the rematch turns out a little bit better than this one, because I don't want to watch my poor boys cry.
And I'd like to give a shout out when y'all were playing small at the end, and our center was walking you down. Who's the guy that kept drawing the foul over and over?
Jamal Mayshak.
I want to give a shout out to him for not flopping.
Yeah, we don't flop like pussies, but I will tell you.
Well, people say that, but Vescovi started the game off by acting like his eyeball was about to fall out.
Dude, he did get smacked though.
He got a finger, and they reviewed it, and they were still like,
he didn't ask him. He didn't ask him to review it. He didn't ask him,
but they did. They did because he was rolling around.
That goes back to Pat Adams. That goes back to Pat Adams.
He was a 2016 LeBron James, what he looked like. So they reviewed it because he was out there acting like he was having surgery. So, and then they were like, all right, but it's a finger. I mean, let's ride.
I'll tell you, Vescovi's probably one of the toughest dudes on our team. He never really flops or complains about getting fouled or anything. So
yeah, he just got a bad eye. That's fine.
Yeah, he just got smacked pretty good. So
yeah, I mean, the eyes are sensitive. I understand
that. You guys, I think that's the first full game of Tennessee basketball I've ever watched, and it was really, really hard to watch.
Yeah, you picked a bad one. You picked your worst inaugural introduction to Tennessee basketball.
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to watch one that's going to be worse, if you want to watch one that's going to be worse, it'll be Saturday night. I'm not trying to be pessimistic or overly dramatic, right?
Yeah.
But this is not hyperbole about what I'm about to say. Tennessee's going to go get absolutely slaughtered by Kentucky Saturday at Rupp Arena. They are not built. If they lose to this trash South Carolina team at home, right? They're going to go up there and get their cheeks slapped by Kentucky.
Yeah, we love to see our children fight on Saturday nights. It'd be good to watch Kentucky, Tennessee.
Unless Dalton Knecht drops like 60 points, That's the only thing I saw tonight.
He was on life support during the end, man. He was real
sucking wind bad. It was bad.
He was Tennessee tonight. He was
the whole game.
Yeah. I mean, why don't you tell us, like, in your opinion, Chase, like, how'd you guys get it done against UK? Like, more of the same of what you saw today, or like, what do you think?
It's the same thing that I told. I literally, me and Josh had this conversation a week ago with South Carolina, because he hadn't watched South Carolina games and I haven't watched Tennessee games.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, all I can tell you is that this defense, it just annoys you as a basketball player. And he looked and he pulled a stat and he's like, well, I looked at this and this. I said, I'm trying to tell you, you have to watch the game to understand it. These guys are like gnats. They will not leave you. They go, they're in your ear, they're on your chest, they're on your back. Every time you turn, they're on you. And we're not a good offensive team. We have a center that can shoot a 3. We got Michi that can shoot a 3. And we have a point guard in Cooper who can distribute, and he keeps the team centered. But other than that, all we do is we just play smothering defense.
Yeah.
And
Chase.
It's the same with Kentucky, and what it really gets to, if South Carolina had a number in front of their name, it would be different, and I think teams would approach them different.
Right.
But they see South Carolina, they see the longevity of just being trash. They see what they played last year.
Well, you guys do have one more Final Four than Tennessee, so there's that.
I mean, we're South Carolina. We do great things here. But it's the same thing with Kentucky as it was with Tennessee. It is just an annoying defense that won't go away the entire time you're there. And then it just shows it's just frustration. And in basketball, if you're playing frustrated basketball, you're not going to win.
Yeah, you're going to get all those ticky-tack fouls. You're not going to hit the three. And, yeah, that's what we saw tonight. So,
and whenever they're going into the huddle, the reporter said 2 or 3 times that this is an annoyed huddle. They're very frustrated. The coaches are frustrated. An assistant coach had to start drawing up some plays for them because the head coach is so mad he can't even talk about it. But what it is, it's not a knock on Tennessee. It's just a up on South Carolina. They come in and they say, well, we can outmatch you with our 5 starters. And they can. We can outmatch you with our bench. And they can. And coaching-wise, they should outmatch us. Paper to paper, we're not equivalent to Tennessee. But what don't show on that paper is a guy that wants to hang on you 24/7. We've all played pickup basketball. When you get a guy that won't get off of you, it usually turns into a fight, an argument, or you're just like, I just don't even want to play anymore. Like you won't get off, like back up, just back up.
That's true.
That's truly all that happened tonight. That's what happened to Kentucky. That's what happened to these other teams. And South Carolina's starting to hit their stride. They struggled in the beginning. We still were grinding stuff out, but we're starting to hit our stride now because we're starting to produce a little bit more offensively. But it's the same defensive team just about all year. We're getting a couple guys off injury. The guy you saw hit the free throws there at the end to seal the game, he just come back off a shoulder injury. But this is a team jam full of transfers that are learning for the most part in their first or second year under this coach. And they're just coming together realizing that if we just play this absolutely annoying defense, we can win these games against these big-time teams. And it showed twice.
Right.
Hey, so you think South Carolina's got a legit chance at like a Final Four, Elite 8 run?
No.
Okay.
No. I think that once South Carolina has to play these types of schools, our strength of schedule is not great. We're 17 or 18-3 now. Thank you, Tennessee. We're 18-3 now. 6-2, 6-3 in SEC, 6-2 in SEC play. We're able with this schedule. We're playing like UL Monroe twice and stuff like that. You get to pad it a little bit. But here's the thing with South Carolina. They're still playing in conference and they're playing well in conference. But I don't think that we're deep enough. I don't think we're experienced enough. And I don't think we're old enough to make a true run at the Final Four. If we do, obviously I'm going to brag about it. But I wore this hat tonight because of South Carolina. You see it? Nothing fancy. Because that's just South Carolina basketball, bud. We're just nothing fancy.
Okay.
We're just grinding. But no, I don't think we're going to be a Final Four team. I just think we're going to be a team
that why don't you respond to some of this, man?
Well, hey, man, there's really not a lot to say. Chase can sit here and fucking victory lap me all night long. Because here's the thing, all right? He's absolutely right. And there's nothing that I can do to defend anything like against what he's saying.
Right.
Tennessee was shown the 50 states tonight, just bent over the barrel by Sir Big Spur and just let us have it. Yeah, get cocky, baby. That's what they were doing tonight.
Spurs up, baby. Spurs up. Cocky for 90.
Sandstorm was fucking playing. I mean, it was the whole shebang. There you go. All right. So I wish there was some counters to this. The only thing that, I could really say is, man, hope we can get them when we play them in March. I mean, that's really it. There's nothing. I mean, I read to you what everybody except Dalton Knecht did on Tennessee's team tonight. They just shit the bed. And, it's really indefensible.
And what feels good is this. Tell me from South Carolina who really stuck out to you tonight. Like, name 2 or 3 players.
It was your post, man. That guy that, I mean, whoever your post player was, that guy that kept getting fouled. Mac.
And that right there.
Mac truck. That's what I called his ass. BJ Mac.
That is South Carolina basketball. You watch the game, you can't name a single player, but you're like, that team is
Talon. You had like Talon Cooper, right? Ain't that his name?
Coop. Yep, that's point guard. That's our one.
So your guard played pretty good. That Michi Johnson kid, he had a decent game.
Michi is not a distributor, but with him pushing it out to that 3 at the end, Tenneseee forced that too. They forced it because Michi is a 3-point shooter. That is what he does. Yeah. And for them to force him inside and him to push it back out for that late Coop.
Yeah. The reason why that was able to happen is because Rick Barnes was trying to go small and play with his guards to try to create some type of offense that just wasn't there tonight. Sometimes you have to admit it wasn't your night, and tonight was not Tennessee's night.
Yep.
Yeah, they look terrible.
I agree.
That was terrible.
So, and I talked about it on the reaction show against Vanderbilt. I'm glad you brought up the fact that my brother-in-law called the we're gonna run the table. You can quote me and you can make it as short. And I love Rick Barnes. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a Rick Barnes guy as far as the person Rick Barnes. But I also said we will not run the table. We will lose 1 or 2, maybe even 3 more games that we have no business losing, like tonight, because we're Tennessee and we're still coached by Rick Barnes. And that's not barn bashing. That is a reality.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to work on, and hopefully we can right the ship against Kentucky, but doesn't look that good at right now. So I do want to switch to some of the news that came out today for NIL. Josh or Chase, what did you? Josh, you want to lay?
Yeah, I'm gonna lead this a little bit for you guys. Now earlier today, a story broke by Pete Thamel. I think that's who it was that broke the story. Pete Thamel, known hater of Tennessee athletics. He is he's a guy that really likes a dude that coaches football at Rutgers that I'm not going to give any credence to even speaking his name, but he was Tennessee's football coach for about 3 hours back in 2017 when we fired Butch Jones.
And he was undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated. But he's not been undefeated at Rutgers. He's been what we knew he was at Rutgers. But anyway, so the talking heads of the New York Times and Pete Thamel, they broke a story alleging that Tennessee is currently under investigation by the NCAA of NIL cheating, essentially, right?
Yes.
So there's really no way to prove that. The whole thing comes down to the NCAA for the last few years since the NIL stuff started have been negligent in their ability of defining rules and regulations for the NIL. Now they're starting to make this arbitrary accusations that Tennessee broke the law or the rules of the NCAA, and they weren't even established, right? So they're trying to retroactively apply these rules to Tennessee and penalize them because we got the Polynesian Prince, Nico Iamaleava, into Knoxville and paying him $8 million, and they're pissed about it. So this tells me a couple things. One, the NCAA is frauds, just like we've all known that they've always been. I don't know who's a bigger fraud, the NCAA or fucking Chip Kelly. But the second thing that it tells me is Nico is the truth, because if Nico wasn't good, they wouldn't be coming after us. That's what that means to me. They're scared that Tennessee might be turning a corner here. So in response to that, and I shared that on the Locky Top X page earlier today. I want to read this. And this was dated yesterday, which is kind of funny. This lets me know that Tennessee had an inkling that this was coming. Like, they didn't just wake up this morning, Donde's secretary or executive admin and say, yeah, I'm going to type this up for you, boss. This was well thought out. But this is to President Baker from the chancellor of the University of Tennessee. Dear President Baker, the leaders of intercollegiate athletics owe it to the student athletes and their families to establish clear rules and to act in their best interest. Instead, 2.5 years of vague and contradictory NCAA memos, emails, and guidance about name, image, and likeness have created extraordinary chaos for student athletes and institutions and are making it a struggle to navigate. In short, the NCAA is failing. She goes on. I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's 3 pages, right? But basically tells them that they're imbeciles, they're liars, and they're snakes, essentially. I think the entire college football world has kind of gathered around Tennessee in this situation to support Tennessee because they know there are some dirty hands when it comes to the NIL. And it's not just Tennessee. We have, let's use Isaiah Bond. I mentioned this in the group chat earlier today. Isaiah Bond, he transferred from Alabama to Texas. And the guy showed up to class driving a Lambo. Right? So that's telling me, hey, man, there's not a lot of clean hands in this NIL environment right now. Just look at Ole Miss. Let's use Lane Kiffin for an example, right? This guy's flying everywhere. He's flying these kids in these planes. Dabo's on video. They're tagging Dabo with the kid that's their quarterback right now that we beat in the Orange Bowl. I can't Klubnik, right?
Cade Klubnik.
Yeah, Cade Klubnik, right? So
yeah, the Antichrist.
They're showing him in the jet. Say, hey, Cade, that's where you're going to throw touchdowns, right? So it's kind of, talking out of both sides of your mouth. It's the NCAA, right? I don't think anything will come from it. There's just some people that wanted to, take Tennessee to task and basically say, hey, we feel like they're going to be good again, and we're not going to let them. And I feel like that's what's going on right now. And I think Tennessee might be the team to kind of carry the torch to maybe start this great divorce between the power, football conference schools in the NCAA. It essentially is that way anyway right now. They don't even govern the college football playoffs, right? It's a completely separate entity from the NCAA. So, that's kind of where we're at. I think this story is going to continue to develop, but it affects college football writ large because, like I said, nobody's clean when it comes to NIL, especially with the vagueness of the rules.
Yeah, I think just a quick point, and I'll let Chase respond as a non-Tennessee fan. But as someone that's come into college football maybe for the past 10 years, I don't have the full story of the past 30 like Josh might have. But nothing with the NCAA is ever clear. How do you determine the 4 teams that make the playoffs? Well, we have a set of rules that change every year, and it's a black box. How do you determine what a violation is? Well, we have a changing set of rules, and it's a black box. So that's what I see as the common theme here. They love this Monday morning quarterback concept. We got to see what you do, and then we'll say if it's against the law or not. I just think that's bullshit. As someone that watches a lot of college football and a lot of college sports, it's never clear what happens, and that's why I kind of think that NCAA basketball with March Madness is just much more fair. It's a huge bracket of teams. you can still do this NIL stuff, but it's not as fucking Illuminati as this shit, man. So I'll pass it to you, Chase. Like, what are your thoughts on what's happening with Tennessee? I think Florida State also dealing with the same shit. So just go ahead and.
As a whole, I think the NIL is just awful. I think they open a can of worms without no regulation, and they're making rules up as they go. Yep. It's like going to a sleepover and you're playing a game with a kid and he just wants to put rules on top of it as you beat him, and he's just doing house rules. It's trash all the way around. As a South Carolina fan, our university has benefited greatly from the NIL. But we've also lost greatly from the NIL. Lane Kiffin just took one of our top receivers. They should have been playing this year, but we found out, we've heard he's been injured all year, but he's been clear since week 6 or 7. Should have been playing the entire time. And I mean, that's huge games. That's Tenneseee, that's Clemson. And we're trying to get bowl eligible at that time. That's October, November football. I mean, this is whenever we're really getting into the grind of everything that's going on. With Tennessee being called on NIL stuff, I'm not going to say the NCAA is against Tennessee, because I don't know why they would. It's not they harp on Michigan so hard, but Michigan wins a national championship.
Give me a second with that, Chase. I don't want to cut you off there. I can tell you.
Tell me.
The NCAA was put in a really precarious situation when they handed down the penalties to Tennessee for what happened during the Jeremy Pruitt era. Okay. I think they felt like they kind of gave us a light sentence, so to speak.
A light sentence. Okay, yeah, I can see it, and I agreed that they gave you a light sentence with Jeremy Pruitt, because I thought it should have been more severe.
Well, you would as a South Carolina fan, but
absolutely,
they didn't give us a postseason ban, and what we did was really small in comparison to what has happened at other places. I mean, you could use the North Carolina basketball situation. You could use, we know Alabama cheats. Like, there's no denying that.
I was in the class where I was in college during your, like, Eric Norwood at South Carolina. And I had a bunch of friends that were at South Carolina. And I went to Coastal Carolina. And I was there on the weekends and stuff like that. And no, we were in where students eat, and Eric Norwood's in there, and I'm like, I got to go talk to him because I wear his jersey on Saturdays. I got to go say something. And my man is picking out what he can put on his sandwich, because by the NCAA, he can't use certain things to do it. And I said something to him about it, and he's like, that's just the NCAA. And I was like, that makes zero sense. But here's the problem that I really got with it. Your big time major universities that have been good for decades before have paid players. They can say what they want to. Nick Saban didn't get 5 stars the first year he walked into Alabama because he's Nick Saban that was playing at the Miami Dolphins or LSU.
No.
All right, that didn't happen. Dabo Swinney at Clemson didn't all of a sudden get all these players and their parents all of a sudden have jobs at the university at Clemson. It didn't make no sense. And I'm sitting there watching. This is a fine example. And this in South Carolina. Xavier Thomas. He was a South Carolina commit forever. He wore South Carolina gloves. He wore number 7 because of Jadeveon Clowney. Huge Carolina guy from Wilson. I mean, that's 30 minutes from right here where I'm from. You knew him, 5-star athlete, defensive end, coming to South Carolina. I mean, he was a lock. It was over with. The last week, all of a sudden, he's going to Clemson for a visit. My man is driving. He didn't come from where he should be driving Escalades everywhere.
Right.
All of a sudden, he comes home in a purple Escalade, and he drove it in college.
He got that thing wrapped, huh? He got that thing wrapped.
And now all of a sudden, he's in a brand new purple Escalade, and he goes to Clemson with 3 days left before we commit. And I'm like,
go Tigers.
Do we not investigate it? But now, like everyone said, at Clemson, they had a new spring church. You could funnel it through a church. Churches don't get taxed.
LSU did that through the kids' children's hospital down there. They were robbing the cancer hospital for children in Baton Rouge.
But if you're going to do it NIL, man, just put a cap. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to do NIL, put a cap. We know that they play college athletes. We know that. You can't stay dominant right on or all of a sudden just be dominant in a year. That's not how it goes. You can say, well, it's coaching. No, it's not. It's 5-star and 4-star athletes on the field. And you're like, well, it doesn't matter about the stars. It does matter about the stars. At South Carolina, I promise you, it matters about the stars. Because when my 3-star defensive end goes up against your 5-star offensive tackle, he's going to go backwards all night. I've watched it for 33 years now. That's what happens. I've lived through a bunch of South Carolina football. I see it. It's in the coaching, but it's also. But if you're going to do the NIL, man, just put a cap. Just put a cap. If you want to pay the players, and you should pay the players. There's no reason I was playing NCAA football with starting out with South Carolina State, so I can start out with nobody and then win a bunch of national championships.
Yeah.
And I'm playing with players. Their numbers there. That's them. Their stats, and they're not getting paid for it. Pay them, but there's a cap. And if you're not doing off of a cap, then there's no rule. We had Spencer Rattler the last 2 years, and I'm glad we did because we wouldn't have won the games we would have won without him. Because we didn't have a quarterback on the roster that could have played anywhere near the level he played. Tennessee. And he got
Connor Stallions.
But there should be a cap. I mean, it just cap it at $1 million. There's no reason, no more 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 or these guys that are playing in Oregon, that quarterback's been there for 8 years. Cap $1 million.
Yeah.
I should not be getting paid more to sit in college and hold out on the draft because I get paid more here in college than I would if I go draft. The whole purpose in playing college football is to get your education, number one. Number two is to be a great athlete and get to the next level. There's no motivation to get to the next level as a rookie. Your motivation is to get as many deals and money as you can. And then when you get there, if you're a bust in a year, Jamarcus Russell, you've already got $50 million sitting in the bank, $20 million sitting in the bank because you got all these NIL deals. Then you go and sign a huge rookie contract and you can get out of it. The NFL put a cap on rookie contracts. There's a reason because of Jamarcus Russell paying millions and millions of dollars for a guy that just wouldn't do his job.
Right.
Pay these guys tops $1 million, let them ride out, and that way you don't have Lane Kiffin coming to University of South Carolina and grabbing Juice Wells on a golf cart and driving him down the road for an extra $700,000.
Well,
and he don't play half of the year.
Chase, obviously we know with that situation, tampering happened. So tampering's also happening throughout, college football with the whole NIL stuff. But while you were talking there, I got a little bit more clarity on what the NCAA is looking at Tennessee for, and then Naveen, I'll get your thoughts after I read this off to you guys and just kind of see if you feel like this is severe when we talk about tampering, like with the Juice Wells situation and the other things that we've seen throughout the NIL. I mean, the kid that committed to Ohio State, their collective fucking broke the news that he was coming to Ohio State. The school didn't even break it. So you're telling me the NCAA is coming after us, the Power T here, right? Coming after us. And you got the collective that's announcing basically pay for play. Like, yeah, we told him what we're going to give him, so he's going to come here. So if that's the rules, you're going to go after the Buckeyes as well. But this is what the NCAA is starting their investigation on. The investigation is focused in part on use of a private jet by a so-called donor collective to fly a high-profile recruit. Now, the school's starting quarterback, Nico, right? Having the booster group paid for the trip by the quarterback would be a violation of NCAA rules. The inquiry comes after the NCAA penalized Tennessee for different recruiting violations and signals the NCAA's growing concern about the scale and influence of the money being injected into college sports by donor collectives. The case could have profound implications for the direction of high-profile programs across the country, especially in football, where outside money raised and dispersed to players by collectives have reshaped the economics of college athletics. News of the investigation into Tennessee's athletic program was first reported by Sports Illustrated. Tennessee officials are deeply concerned that the investigation could result in a devastating blow to the school's football program, according to a person briefed on the matter. The person is Pete Thamel, by the way. The program is already on probation for the earlier recruiting violations under Jeremy Pruitt, and school officials are concerned that the NCAA could take drastic action, like banning the team from postseason play and disqualifying players. Basically, saying Nico's ineligible to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is all their own creation, right? When you get into paying people, like you basically have like a $30 to $50 million payroll on these top teams, and you have people willing to pay that money. And I don't know any mega rich person that doesn't deal in private jets. I know that it's probably a rules violation, but I don't really think that's important because they move the goalpost all the time, and that's their MO. You know, what's a rule now will not be a rule in two years. And I just want to add on to Chase's point about having a payroll. I think that's the only way to go with this. You know, you need to have a structure that is very, very beneficial. And I don't think that, you know, like other leagues, they have luxury taxes and ways to get around payrolls. So I think that is something that you got to watch out for too, because then, you know, Texas A&M fucking digs a hole in the ground, and then there's, you know, $50 more million. So I think
it's about how much money Jimbo gave those fucking kids.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think
all those old Derricks out there, they got it, man.
Yeah, they just have to dig another hole, right? That's all they do.
They talked about the Texas A&M players, all those guys with 5-stars that were leaving. They're like, everybody kept saying we were getting paid so much money, but we never saw it. It's like, where to go then?
It's all in the collective.
Exactly. Yeah. They didn't get their money. They come there for money, and then they left. It's ruining college football because in college football, you commit for two reasons: the coach or the university. And either way, you're buying in to the university.
Yeah.
And so these were, like, you look at y'all sidelines, if T. Martin comes back, you'll go crazy. Peyton Manning comes back, you'll go crazy. At South Carolina, Connor Shaw comes back, Deebo Samuel comes back, DJ Swearinger comes back. We're going crazy, but these guys are Carolina boys. It doesn't matter what the record shows. Deebo Samuel has some down years at South Carolina. DJ Swearinger and Connor Shaw did not.
Right.
But whenever I see them, I don't see the record. I see true Carolina guys, and you're taking that out of college where we got guys that are coming from Nevada wanting to come play at South Carolina. You're not coming here for Shane Beamer or the South Carolina spirit that we have and the traditions that we have here. You're coming here because our offensive coordinator paid you more money than UNLV paid you to go play cornerback. So now you're here at South Carolina. You don't care about Columbia. You don't care about the university. And that's fine with me as long as you win. But the problem is if the wins aren't coming, but the pay is going crazy, and then you transfer somewhere else after you've been here for a year, 2 years, then it's not out there. You either got to commit to the university to coach, or you got to cap this kind of stuff and just knock it off. That way we can all kind of return to what college football is. Because if not, football is going to turn into nothing but a bargain barn. And whenever it turns into that, you've got no leg to stand on with these guys, and they're going to have 2, 3, 4 colleges before they get to the NFL, if they get to the NFL.
And I'll tell you, Chase, another to your point, and I've kind of brought this up in some previous episodes too. It's going to ruin college football also because the good coaches are going to go to the NFL because they're sick. They're sick and tired of dealing with this prima donna bullshit with these athletes too, right? And think about their schedule. You know, it's crazy. Like the type of schedule that these guys go from for recruiting, it never stops. But yeah, man, I really think that's going to water down the product. And we got Andy. He just came in. Hard day of work, man. Coming in late. So Andy, I want you to kind of talk your thoughts about when you saw me share the news with you guys about Tenneseee having some issues with the NCAA poking their nose around campus again and throwing out allegations of abuse of the NIL. Potentially them trying to put sanctions on Tenneseee, disqualify Nico, and maybe other players in different programs, like the story said. And what do you think Tenneseee should do in response? Obviously, we saw what Donde Plowman did, the chancellor. But then what do you think we should do in response? Do you think we should take it to the Supreme Court?
Thanks, Josh. So my thought is very simple. Like, what are the rules? It's very hard to say you can do this, but this school cannot offer X amount of money. You cannot promise this recruit something, but the other school can, and how much. I feel like it's always been something that we all knew was happening, under the surface, and only the ones that were sort of publicly brought to light, like the USC type of situations that everyone sort of went and bashed. But now that it's sort of a free market now, what is there to, sort of follow abuse? I mean, it's become basically like a minor league sport in some way without salary cap, as you guys pointed out. And it sort of dilutes that regional and traditional school spirit and all of that. But you can't have it both ways. In my opinion, is that, like, if you're gonna allow that, then just fully allow it. Like, what is there to dig? What is there to punish? It's not like this one school was doing something that NCAA officially came and said you cannot do this. Like, where are the rules? I think I read the statements that you forwarded me earlier. That's pretty much our argument, right? Is that, hey, okay, fine. Like, you can, if you're gonna tell me like I didn't follow the rule, what were the rules? When did you tell me? And I think that's a very, very true statement. Like, okay, so these athletes are making money. Like, I personally am a fan of these athletes actually getting paid. Like, the schools have been making millions of these athletes for a long, long time. But now that they're all getting paid, like, what's the problem? Like, why is why is NCAA particularly digging into, like, one program? Like, you're telling me the Lamborghini and the penthouses that we see in on these, like, social media posts are all legit, but then like FSU or Tenneseee, like, they violated some kind of rule. Like, I don't really know. I just feel like this is just gonna be all, like, dismissed. Maybe NCAA has some kind of a play and want to make an example out of it, but I doubt it's gonna really stick to it, really. And I think if they try to restrict it, that'll really be the end of NCAA. I mean, they already don't have control over the college football playoff today, right? So
yeah, we mentioned that earlier. And to your point, if the NCAA does, I think, try to do that, I think that will be their demise. Because they, like you said, they've not really set any framework or any rules since the Supreme Court ruled on the NCAA v. Austin appeal in the Ninth Circuit Court back in June of 2021, right? So we already have legal precedents that's already been set on, student athletes they're able to cash in on their NIL. And when you don't set the framework and the conditions, it's a fucking free for all in a banana republic. Right. This country is a meritocracy, and you should be able to, cash in on, capitalism at any opportunity you can. Right. I think we all four on all these boxes agree with that.
Yeah, I think.
Is this not a complaint that every single school in the Power Five has right now?
They're going to. Tennessee is just the first domino, and that's why I said in my opening statement of this, it's like Tennessee is going to probably be the school that has to lead this for everybody else. It's going to rally the rest of the college football.
Every conference
in Power Five.
Michigan is seeing it. Ohio State's seeing it. And I'm just talking about the transfers going elsewhere for the money. SEC is the most dominant conference in football, period, year in and year out. Your top dwellers, Alabama, Georgia. I mean, look at the rosters. They're seeing depletion, but your top five guys are still able to pull some in order to stay up there. But from all Power Five, everyone is complaining about this circus that they got now with the players going from this school to that school to this school to that school. The transfer is just absolutely crazy now. You used to have to sit out a year. The only way you could transfer and play automatically is if you already graduated from the university. So you had to pay, you had to stay there for a while, establish yourself, and put the time in to go somewhere else to try to get more playing time. So I just think that it's just a circus at this point.
Yeah. Well, hey, Chase, first off, I want to say thank you for coming on tonight. I think this show, we popped up to 8 views tonight on the live. So, and Twitter. So look at you bringing the pop in, right? All we needed was a a Tenneseee upset loss to South Carolina. But yeah, I love you, man. I'm glad that you were able to come on. For those that don't know, me and Chase, we served together in the Army damn near almost 10 years ago. Good dude. Love him to death like a brother. Yeah, it used to be my NCO for all of you military folks that know what that means. But basically, I used to work for him for a little bit. But I appreciate you coming on, man. We'll have you back on later on, probably when college baseball starts. And then we might even have you back when we come down to the Colonial Center and do the round 2 and see how that shakes out. But appreciate you coming on.
Wouldn't recommend it. But if you want the smoke, you can get it. Brother, we've been together for many years. I'll just say that. Andy, it's great to see you, brother. I ain't saw you since the wedding. Good to see you.
Yeah, man. Long time. So good to see you. Unfortunate circumstances, but
unfortunate for y'all, not for me. It's great to meet you, brother.
Good to meet you, man.
Yeah, but it was good to be on. Appreciate y'all having me.
Hey, no problem, man. Yep. See you later.
Later, brother.
All right, Andy. I'm gonna kick it to you, man. So you came in a little bit later. I know the work don't stop for nobody. So we'll save you from having to go back and kind of recap the Vanderbilt game, or excuse me, South Carolina game. I've already tried to snap and clear that. I've even forgot that it even happened. The South Carolina game, and then kind of look to Saturday night's game at Rupp. I know we didn't play great tonight. What do you think Tenneseee has to do to have a chance against the Wildcats?
I'll preface it by saying I didn't get to catch tonight's game, unfortunately, due to some work-related stuff. So, I would defer to you on, how sort of what you guys saw tonight and what they need to improve. But, like going into a tough arena, it's, I think it's always the same. Limit the turnovers, rebound aggressively, get to the post. Tenneseee, like we don't do well with the 3-point shooting. One thing I noticed, and I'm sure it's happened tonight too, is the lack of scoring, have those droughts for 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. You need to be able to understand, and it starts with the guard play. Like the ball handlers need to understand, like, hey, there's this run happening. Basketball is a game of runs. Figure out like, hey, do I need to be aggressive? Let me try to drive and make something happen, whether that be attacking or passing, but can't be settling for jump shots, especially when those droughts get long and in the very hostile environment, just kind of like settling for jumpers, and then the opposing players sort of feed off that home crowd energy. So I would say rebound, limit the turnovers, and really just trying to understand the flow of the game and limiting those scoring droughts. Like it all starts with the point guard play.
Cool. Yeah, I just got a few keys to the game, kind of similar to my usual keys to the game. I need 3 people to score more than 15 points. I need some fucking rebounds. And I think I'll add to my usual defensive point and say, like, once you're in the drought, go try to hit someone or get fouled. That's what I would say would bust the momentum, right? Like, you got to try and cause some chaos, man. Like, get your head in the game. Dalton has his head in the game.
Yes.
Who else has the head in the game?
Naveen, how many times did you see people just standing and watching?
Yeah. And
waiting for Dalton to do something.
They're in the NBA 2K lobby, and he's in the game,
That's a good. I love that analogy. But the thing that concerns me the most, especially what we saw tonight, and tonight was just more glaring, I think, because we lost. If we win this game by 2 points, we don't cover. No, we didn't play great, but we still have seniors like Triple J. And we all know I'm not the guy that wants to talk about Josiah Jordan James. There's nothing good comes from that ever, right? So he disappeared. we didn't get anything from Jonas Adu, right? Vescovy, I think he had 10 points tonight. So he's hitting my requirements. It's like he might be one of our few listeners, but ever since I challenged him and said, Vescovy, I need you to get 10 points. My absolute bottom ask is for you to get 10 points a night. That will be the key to unlock Tennessee's schedule and get us to where we need to go. But then when everybody else just fucking falls off, and we have one guy literally score 31 points, and then we have everybody else other than Santiago score single digits, and some of those people, are expected to be contributors. I know we have a couple big Zakai Ziegler fans on this show. And where was he tonight? I need New York to show up or this coming Saturday night, the next game.
Yeah.
So, hey man, your keys, I'll take those all day, and I'll finish the show with this. For the love of God, don't go up there and embarrass us. Please. Go get the job done. Get some dignity back. I have a guy, just like I had a guy tonight. I have a guy that's going to come on the show Saturday. And he is 10 times worse, the fan, than what we had on here tonight for South Carolina. I'll just leave it at that. Tennessee, don't make me, Naveen, and Andrew sit through what we're going to have to sit through Saturday night if we don't go up there and win. Don't let the crowd into the game. Don't let the refs control the game. Go up there, get it done. So for myself, for Naveen, for Andrew, for Chase, who, was so gracious to come in victory lap with us tonight, and Frank, who had to drop off a little earlier. This is Locky Top. We love you. Catch us Saturday for the pod and Saturday night for the reaction.
Top out.